The following is a live presentation of CBC Sports.
We are gearing up for the weekend, which means that it's time for our weekly watch guide. I am Brittany McLean, and I have the privilege of being joined by my colleague, Jesse Campagato. Jesse is the writer of The Buzzer, CBC Sports' daily newsletter that keeps you up to date with everything you need to know in the world of Canadian sport. Now, Jesse, I feel like every week that we get the chance to chat, there are more and more things to discuss. We are well on way with the winter season, and let's maybe start there. What in the Olympic realm do we have to keep an eye on this weekend?
Yeah, so Canada's best chance to win a lot of medals this weekend is going to come at the long track speed skating World Cup opener in Japan. So last season, Canada won 10 medals at the World Championships in Calgary, which was a national record. And just last weekend, they won 12 medals at the Four Continents Championships, which are sort of a warm-up for the World Cup season for non-European skaters. So the Canadians to watch this weekend include Vanier Cup, who racked up 4 medals last weekend, and Laurent Dubreuil, who picked up 3 medals last weekend, and actually just last night won another medal in the men's 500 to get Canada on the board at the World Cup meet. So if everyone's looking for some international skaters to watch, I would definitely start with Jordan Stolz. So he's the 20-year-old American phenom who won 3 golds at those Worlds in Calgary last year. And it looks like he's carrying that dominance right into this season because he won 2 more gold medals last night. Then over on the women's side, we have the Netherlands' Jutta Leerdam. So she's a 6-time world champ, but at the moment, probably better known as Jake Paul's girlfriend. So you may have noticed her in the ring after Paul's fight against Mike Tyson last Friday night.
Yeah, there were 1 or 2 eyeballs watching that one for sure, but talk about what things you need to watch. That Beijing 2022 long track speed skating team was one of the highlights, I know, for me as a fan, but definitely one we need to keep an eye on when it comes to the path to Milan. And these World Cups are massive when it comes to that path, so we'll make sure to tune into that, of course, but we also have a lot to keep an eye on the non-Olympic side, and I think we have a bit more football going on this weekend, Jesse.
Yeah, so of course the Grey Cup was last Sunday, and I think for a lot of people that's kind of the spiritual end of the Canadian football season. But there's a couple of big matchups on Saturday that I think Canadian football fans will want to know about. So the first one's actually in U.S. college football, where the game of the week is number 2 Ohio State against number 5 Indiana. And I know right now this is not sounding very Canadian, but Indiana's quarterback is a Canadian. His name is Kurtis Rourke. So if that name sounds familiar, he's the brother of Nathan Rourke, who plays for the BC Lions, also at quarterback, and was the CFL's most outstanding Canadian a couple years ago. So Kurtis is having a great year. He's 3rd in all of college football in passer rating, and he's like a top 5 or so candidate for the Heisman Trophy. And a big reason for that is Indiana is probably the biggest surprise in all of college ball this year. So they're off to a 10-0 start, which for them is great. They're usually known as a basketball school, so they're not used to this kind of success in football. And they've got a great shot at making it to the playoffs, which this year are expanding to 12 teams.
Yeah, and that 12-team expansion opens up the field for a team like Indiana to do something about it. So really looking forward to that one. It's going to be a nail-biter. College football weekend is always exciting, of course, but it is not the only football we're going to be watching. It is Vanier Cup weekend.
Yeah, so the Vanier Cup, of course, is the Canadian University Football Championship game. It's happening Saturday in Kingston, Ontario, and it's number 2 ranked Laurier against number 3 Laval. So Laval's looking pretty tough at the moment. They took out defending Vanier Cup champion Montreal in the Quebec final a couple weeks ago, but Laurier's got a great team of their own. They're undefeated this year, so it looks like a pretty awesome matchup. And I know we have a clip of Laurier's coach talking about the matchup, so let's take a look at that.
We have a super confident group that we know we're playing the team that has the most Vanier Cups ever, but we also play the team in the Yates Cup that had the most Yates Cups ever. So this has been a magical run built with hard work and desire and leadership, and we're trying to continue that for one more game to go 1-0.
Some classic football coach stuff there, Britt. So Laurier is undefeated. They're the higher ranked team in this game, and he's painting them as the underdog. Gotta love it.
You do. And I mean, at the end of the day, I like what he said about the 1-0, right? You're resetting. It's a new opportunity. They haven't been in this final for almost 20 years. So a huge opportunity ahead for Laurier. One final thing I did want to mention, though, we said this was a non-Olympic sport, but flag football is being introduced in LA 2028. So that's going to be something we're going to have to keep an eye on in the next couple of years to see how many of these athletes, obviously in the U Sports system and in the CFL system, make their way onto that Olympic roster for Team Canada. Jesse, it's been an absolute pleasure. Vanier Cup, 1 p.m. Saturday. Make sure you're tuning in here on CBC. And then the speed skating is all being streamed as well. They're in Japan, so it's a little bit late at night. If you can't tune into either of those, you absolutely make sure you are signing up for Jesse's newsletter, The Buzzer. Search The Buzzer CBC online and enter your email to make sure you are getting up to date with everything in the world of Canadian sport. Jesse, we appreciate your insights as always, and we'll be sure to chat about all the things that are to come next week as well.
Yeah, thanks, Brett. Have a great weekend.
You too.